Should we talk about some basic backswing moves you need to be making with your driver to try and make sure you're keeping the ball in play and hitting some better golf drives? Basic number one, let's think about the takeaway. So how you take this club away from the ball. A couple of killer moves in the takeaway I see is a lot of wrists. So the more you can keep your takeaway connected up, so feel like your hands, the shaft of the club, the head, your arms, and a little bit of your upper body and hips all starts moving away together. If we can achieve any kind of first parallels somewhere towards your feet line is nice and neutral, while at the same time keeping your face of your club not too twisted up or too twisted down, so it's just slightly down to the ground. If I put lots of wrist in from this takeaway, you can see we start getting the face pointing up highest to the right, and then we see these kind of movements. So an easy way to feel that connection in that takeaway, like everything's just marrying up. What I like to see golfers do, just take your trail hand, point the thumb basically down the foot line and just out towards the back of me here. So basically it's parallel to my target line, but it's pointing out away from me. Just have your hand open and try and get your lead hand to marry up into that hand, and you'll find that you get a little bit more connected on that takeaway into that right hand. Then what you can do is put both hands on and try and recreate that feeling, because you will have a little bend in your right arm as you take it away. The theme of your takeaway can set so much up for the rest of your swing, and where we will see variations on takeaway, and if you hit good drives, keep using those variations. I wouldn't change it, but for lots of people it sets up some nasty themes that we see play through into impact. So the more I push the club out away to the right of the ball, the more I tend to swing more into the left. The more I pull that club inside, that's the more I might get kind of swinging out to the right, or then even redirect back to the left. Working on that first parallel to be somewhere down kind of your feet and body line a little bit at the beginning is quite a good position, with that face just slightly down to the ground. Even just putting club on the trail side of you here and feel it all moving away for the first 2 feet all connected before it just peels away to hit that parallel. Again, you'll feel that connection. You could do this on the tee and then put the club down into a gaming position and try and hit your tee shot away. I would use my takeaway position to shape shots. If I want to hit a relatively neutral drive, I am going to apply a relatively neutral, unwristy biased takeaway. Try and hit that position to allow some club path control. Nice neutral drive. Next basic ideas I like to see golfers do with their backswing, and this is one I see flipped around the wrong way quite often, where lots of golfers feel they maybe have a bit more security when they make shorter backswings with the big stick. I actually like to see longer backswings rather than shortening. So I don't mean make your backswing longer than your natural feels, but try not to shorten it. It's a common mistake I hear. I'm just going to try and shorten off the backswing and keep it straighter. It tends to affect the timing, and often in a way that can curve the ball more off to the right for lots of golfers, because if you think about your hip turn and your shoulder turn, they're so connected. The bigger turn you make, for most golfers, the more chance I've got of getting that club behind me, so sitting back a little bit more, which often delivers some slightly better club pass. Where when I make shorter backswings, and for lots of golfers it's the same way, so shorter turn, shorter backswing, if I start then doing my normal downswinging amount of turn, it tends to drag everything more to the left. So where they feel more secure, you might find their strike might slightly improve, which can have its benefits. You tend to see increased curvature. So I'm going to hit 2 drives going quite extremes with shoulder turns and hip turns, and you'll see the different kind of shapes that it creates. In the comments down below, maybe let me know which one you recognize the most. So the first one, I'm going to go for quite a small restricted hip and shoulder turn. You see the ball starting lower and left, it curving back to the right side of the fairway. Like that feels relatively controlled, but the curvature isn't that controlled. Where you'll see the kind of shot I hit if I make a fuller swing. So it encouraged me and to encourage you to make sure you're making a nice big full shoulder turn. Don't be afraid to let your lead foot lift up a little bit. That gets your hips turning a bit more. So if my left foot, my lead foot, comes up as I make my backswing, my lead knee kicks in more, my pocket goes in more, meaning my hip rotation is bigger, allowing for a bigger shoulder turn. This allows for a little bit more speed, a bit more commitment, and definitely makes it easier for me to get the club coming a bit more from the inside, where the shorter one you could see the low cutty shot. So don't be afraid to let that lead foot just lift up to allow hips and shoulders Start moving. Other good triggers to feel the bigger shoulder turn is don't be afraid to let left shoulder really get down deep below your chin and over towards your right foot as you look down. The shorter backswing to me, I felt like I just kept my shoulder this side of me, and then as soon as I opened up on the way down, that's why it was dragging that path down and to the left. Simple visual for you to feel that is just get the club across your chest. I'm just holding it away from my chest here, and feel like you're turning the butt end of this club down and beyond your trail foot. It'll really allow you to feel how you can release that lead foot, get a nice big ample turn with the driver, hopefully deliver a little bit of speed, and I think you're going to see quite a different launch and in turn a very different drive. Nice high draw, lovely. And the last basic idea around your backswing, I want you just to grab 2 medium irons. I've got a 7 and a 9 iron here. So for this idea, this is one of the real killers in a backswing. I see massive amounts of angle in the wrist, so even if they get the takeaway down and nice and connected, not too wristy, from there on they get the club over their shoulder. If they're not turning too much, we see golfers use lots of wrist angles, so really start hinging wrist, even clubs starting to come out of lead hand. Top of the backswing, these kind of ideas, these golfers very commonly really wear out this part of their glove really quickly as the club moves around in it. If that's you, in the comments let me know. When you get golfers who struggle to control the face of the club and the path, to think about calming the wrist angles down on the way back. So I mean not only calming down how much hinge up they have, in turn how much they bow the lead wrist or cup the lead wrist. So mainly they tend to cup it, so the more I go this way, the more I extend that wrist, which is what we know, or you probably know more commonly as cupping. This creates generally looser, longer backswings, but longer with smaller turns, and it's that combination. So when they make long hand swings or club swings with not very big shoulder turns, you know you've got a lot of extension, cupping in that lead wrist, hands coming off. Trying to correct this on the way down for most golfers often results in a standing up of the club. Then we get the crashes, the hit in the ground, the sky in the ball, the big slices because the handle goes up, they can't control the face, and off it curves to the right. So let's use these 2 irons, and only do this relative to your strength. If this is too hard with 2 irons, because this will push me to my limit, just use 1, or just find something heavier around your house that's heavier than your driver, because remember they build them really light. Just hold it in your lead hand only, and I want you to take the club up over your right shoulder, but do it with your body turn, not your wrist. You're going to find that you want to support the club under a straight lead wrist and arm. You don't want to hinge too much, and as soon as I start extending, cupping this wrist, this just feels like the clubs are just dropping behind me. It really illustrates the lack of control you've got over this weight, and you've got to remember they build the drivers light, but as they're moving at speed, the forces pulling on you are great, which is why we see a collapsing often for golfers. So actually adding heavier objects and then taking the speed out makes you realize how they're swinging you rather than you're swinging them sometimes. So grabbing these 2 clubs, just get it over your right shoulder as you turn. So don't just pick it up with your arm, get your arm turning up with your shoulders and just coming across your chest slightly. You can even support it with your right hand if you find it's too heavy, but find a difference of using very limited amount of hinge and extension and cupping in that lead wrist, and feel like you're keeping everything a little bit straighter and extended, and get that feeling onto a drive. This idea absolutely transforms the way that people control the face with their driver, often into much less variability. Huge influences on if they're hitting down or if they're hitting up, really changes their angle of attack. Often for drivers, the more you can get them neutral to hitting up, they generally have better control of the face, better launches, further distance as well. And this is the one that really twists their melon. If you get people making swings with less wrist feeling, they often say that they're going to feel like they're hitting it not as far, they're not going to be as strong, because they relate the wrist angles to lots of speed. Well, what happens is twofold. They gain distance by hitting level to up rather than down. They gain on that alone. They gain generally on better strikes by having less complications in such loose wrist angles and flopping around clubs. They also gain speed because they tend to start using their bigger muscles in their body rather than almost flicking at it with their wrists. And then in turn they gain from the better launches. So they feel like, and this is so common in lesson over the years, they put loads less in but get loads less out. It's like the ultimate dream in driving, where often for most golfers in their complicated backswings, they're putting lots in to get 50-yard little cutty horrible things or 100-yard miss hits, getting not much out. Build a nice solid backswing might allow for a bit more consistency in your delivery, bit of connection in that takeaway, nice full hip and shoulder turn, unless you are someone who goes for the shorter swing and hits it more consistent. Obviously we can quote people like John Ram, Tony Finau. I wish we could base everyone's lessons off some of the most elite athletes in the world. Unfortunately, most of us aren't built that way, and my experience of watching thousands of golfers, these ideas tidied up more away from the Ram and Tony Finau ideas often helps them. And then controlling those wrist angles to be much calmer than most people understand, so less up and certainly then in turn less extension. Good launches, good speed from good turns, good drives, lower scores, happy golfers. Thanks for watching. Let me know if any of these ideas help. Let me know what's helped you in your backswing over the past, or any great tips you've heard that have really helped you. And let me know if you try some of these, how you get on, you struggle, or they help you. Let me know in the comments and we can start a conversation on why they might have helped you or not. Thanks for Lacala Golf Resorts as always for having us and looking after us so well. November filming this. The sun's just going down behind that hill. It's still lovely and warm. What a treat. Get those backswings working for you. You'll hit some better drives. Thanks for watching.